This is Art Sense, a podcast focused on educating and informing listeners about the past, present, and future of art. I'm Craig Gould. On today's episode, I speak with digital artist Robness about his journey through the world of crypto art. Robness is a Los Angeles-based crypto artist who has been part of the movement from the very beginning. He was a part of the group that brought us Rare Pepes and was the founder of what has become known as trash art. At the end of the episode, I'll be taking a look at some of the week's top art headlines. But first up, a discussion about the past, present, and future of crypto art with Robness. Robness, I appreciate you taking time out of your day to talk to us about you and your art. A lot of times when I talk to artists, I like to start with the same question, which is, if you find yourself at a dinner party next to somebody that you have never met before and they have no idea what you do, how do you describe your work to them?
Well, first of all, I usually just say I do digital art, and it's funny you say that the dinner conversation, because it's kind of funny that I have actually had that situation, and it's actually kind of funny because you say that, and at first it's they kind of give you a weird look, you're like, right. Oh, okay, you do digital art, so you don't sell anything, right? And then then I throw the crypto thing in there, and that's still relatively a new concept, so. But you throw kind of buzzwords in there, and then all of a sudden, the person you're talking to kind of looks at like, what does that mean? And then you go to the whole spiel of like saying, oh, I do cryptocurrency, I make art that's on top of that, and then they get more inquisitive, and so and from that point on, I kind of lead into it and say, I've been selling this stuff, and then they're like, well, how many pieces have you sold? And then I tell them I tell them the numbers, and then I say, I'm selling to collectors around the world, and then that's when the conversation gets a little bit more interesting, of course. But yeah, like initially it's I'll say digital art, and usually I'll get a weird look, and then and then move into the crypto side of things.
I'm sure it's not unique to artists, but I'm sure there are folks in all walks of life that strangers size you up, and then the more you talk, the more their demeanor changes because all of a sudden they see you in a different light. So how did it start for you, Robness? Where it sounds like you were there at the very infancy of all this. So tell me about your history in the NFT space or crypto art or whatever we want to call it.
Yeah. My history has started. I got into to just cryptocurrency in general and Bitcoin around 2014. So, that's when I believe like late 2013 was when the price went to 1,000, and then all of a sudden all the inner circles were kind of talking about this this new type of currency that was floating around, and I had a couple friends that were using it, and at first I was skeptical and fell down the rabbit hole and so forth, and for the first, I'd say 2 years, it was more so just me researching the technology, what it can do, and at the time it's more so in the altcoin phase, so a lot of experiments were going down with alternative blockchains and so forth, and so from that point on, for me, it was just sleuthing around and seeing, what new projects or experiments were going on. And, I found the counterparty protocol, which is built on top of Bitcoin, and you can tokenize things and give them names and so forth. And that's when I fell into the Rare Pepe, the meme trading kind of deal. And at the time I was beta testing two games, Spells of Genesis and Saratobi, and those are technically the first two games really on the blockchain. So I was getting used to the concept of itemization. Here's an image, and then it's attached to a token. But more so it was in game. But when I saw the Pepe memes getting made, I had to do a little research, and then I found a little Telegram that had 20 people, and we all got together and said, we're gonna issue these things outside of the because that was the first time where anybody could make stuff on their own. It was like Spells of Genesis was it was a company, and they're making their own assets and stuff, and we're just kind of testing it. But this is the first time that we could actually we can make an asset, we can name it, and then we can make our artwork and then submit it to the community and have it minted. And so that was the first time I got introduced to the concept of tokenized art and so forth.
Sure.
And and so that's really kind of the beginnings of that. And then from that point on, That was 2016, and until now, I mean, it's just been insane to watch the growth.
So back before that, was your background in graphic design or fine art, game development? Like, what sort of background do you have?
I'm all self-taught, I'm a musician as well. So, I mean, I've, self-taught guitar player, a self-taught audio engineer, as far as artwork, I was doing the same, basically I was playing in the various bands and stuff like that. And in between, band practices and stuff, in the studios, I'd always be, working on canvases and stuff. And that's really kind of just like, it's very simple beginnings, and then during that time, I was doing crypto on the side, and none of my friends knew what the hell I was doing. I just had a laptop, and everybody knew I was the guy either doing the mixing and recordings and stuff, and then doing all the weird crypto stuff, and that all that was kind of a convergence, and so almost now that I think about it, it's almost like a perfect timing of sorts. I got the crypto stuff and the artwork at the same time, and yeah, so basically all self-taught pretty much.
When you were talking about that hypothetical conversation with a stranger, one of the things you said is, well, how many pieces are we talking about? How many NFTs do you think you've dropped at this point?
Yeah, I think now, I think I've sold possibly like over 800 individual pieces, I think,
Wow.
in the span of 2 years. And so, yeah. And I mean, that doesn't, I mean, that includes individual style pieces, not like, I mean, I've probably sold like, over, 1,000 or maybe 1,200 of like maybe edition pieces as well. I don't know the full count, but as far as like individual like artworks,
Hmm.
I'd say probably 800 plus. And yeah, I mean, it was just the last 2 years have been really cool because it's just the energy of all the other crypto artist friends that I have. It's just we're all kind of like a family. So during those 2 years, were just I don't know if there's a certain type of energy that was coming out, but we all just were making so much material, and yeah, I know it was great to see. Yeah, I'm definitely proud of it.
So, when I look through your work on OpenSea, it ranges from work that is probably more closely related to memes to stuff that's like really sophisticated. What do you think is the thread that ties all your work together?
Well, for me personally, like I try my hardest to try to push new visual ground. I mean, it's everybody tries to do that, but for me personally, it's just like always trying to trying to really crack the barrier and just try to do something really new. And another thing too for me is like people know me as constantly switching styles too. So I mean, I have a lot of material, but then sometimes the collectors kind of get annoyed possibly that I'm always switching styles every 2 months or so.
Hmm.
But for me, it's more of just being kind of mercurial in that sense where I'll try to develop a certain style. I'll start researching it or go full into it, and then after a while, I feel like I'm done. I'm done with what I've had to say, and then I'll make a jump. And usually, I'll have a couple weeks or maybe months, and just trying to figure out what I want to do next. And if I find a new technique or approach, I'll go through it. But as far as a common thread, I mean, for me, it's definitely I try to be with the crypto culture in a sense as
Hmm.
far as like speaking to it. And so and for me, it's hard to describe that, but it's like it's the way you move. It's the way you move in the community, and the way you express yourself in that community. So I mean, there's a couple pieces I've done that have been like quote unquote performance art, but
Hmm.
it's it's in the context of crypto, the culture in a sense, and so I try to keep that in the mix as well.
One of the veins of work that I really admire of yours are these ones that are really based on glitches. And I think they're just, I mean, I think they're stunning. What is driving that change? Is it your access to new tools or kind of opening yourself up and seeing what bubbles to the surface?
As far as the glitch material, I mean, I've always been a fan of like glitch culture, and just the taking beauty in something that shouldn't necessarily be beauty, and with the glitch stuff, usually you'll find it could be an app that you're using, and you find something that's usually a mistake in the app itself, and that turns out to be like the cool feature. And so for me, I always try to find whatever I'm using, if there's some weird thing about it it might be taboo in some respects. So I might want to like capitalize on that and see where I can take it. Actually for some of the glitch stuff, I found a couple good like painting apps that were like in the glitch style. But it's funny because some of these apps are on the phone, so I'll
Hmm.
make some of these pieces on the phone. But the funny thing is that like um, some of these apps, they have some certain characteristics. If you like really look, it might be a real simple app, but
Hmm.
if you input certain types of material into it, it might act differently depending on what you're putting into it. So like for
Right.
example, like there's one app I'm using, and like I take pictures of like TV screens like really up close so I get the photons and stuff.
Hmm.
And and I don't know how it works, but the texture that I get out of that, because the phone, the way I take the picture, it comes out like really really nice. And when I start using the glitch app, actually it accentuates the photo itself. Even though it's all digital, like there's no other way I could have done that. So for me, that's like almost as pure as like using paint in a sense. So some of these like glitch paintings that I've done, they really look good on screens, which I think is perfect because that was the medium I was using to begin with. I was using a phone, taking a picture of a phone screen, then I'm using it to make on a glitch app to kind of remix it in a sense. But the way it like gets repurposed and put back on the screen, it's almost like it's just like was made for it, and the backlighting and everything. So all these like things I kind of like take into context. And yeah, oh, like for me, yeah, totally love glitch culture. I mean, everything about it. Used to be a big vaporwave fan, and there's some elements to that have a little bit of that element as well, inside of it.
What about video versus static? Like, how do you choose? Is it again a matter of like what the tool of the day is capable of, or do you have a preference one way or the other?
As far as like motion and
Yeah,
like still,
yeah, motion versus still.
yeah. It's weird. I really don't think too much about whether a piece I'm going to make is going to be motion or still. Usually, if I start working on something, the piece will kind of tell me it like needs to move or something. It's really weird. I mean, I'm known to do a lot of still work, and like I have a couple of other crypto art friends that do still work. They're mostly known for that as well. But if I feel like it needs to be animated, I'll definitely do it. I've noticed, if I work in Blender or something, if I do something in 3D, I don't know, for some reason I'm inclined to do a movement or something like that. But yeah, it depends on the piece and depends on what I want to say with it. And if it does need some type of movement, then I'll go for it. But for some reason, I like doing stills though. And it's kind of weird. It's kind of natural for me to just make a still, and that, I'm like I'm done. But I've noticed most crypto art now is moving, so it's like oh, I might be the only still piece in the whole like gallery show or something. You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah, because it's like that's like the natural gravitation. Because when we first started, like in Super Rare and like Known Origin and stuff, like all of us were making GIF art. Like
Hmm.
we were just that was just the flavor of the day, and we just had to make everything like moving and constant. And so, but yeah, I mean, now it's like I can imagine all these people coming in that are new, like maybe they were making still work before, and now they're just they're doing crypto art now, and like, oh, we got to make everything move. So
Right.
maybe personally, I got tired of it, and maybe I'm like stepping back and just keeping it cool. I don't know, but yeah.
Do you think it's always going to be split? I think a predominance, like you said, is tends to be motion at this point. What do you think? Is it? Do you think it's going to be 50-50 motion and still, or what do you think?
Actually, I was making a joke a couple days ago. The whole trend with the profile pic. You got the CryptoPunks, Bored
Right.
Apes. That's like it's almost like another industry for me. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's an industry within an industry in a sense. And most of that stuff's like still work. Which
Mm-hmm.
I think is kind of funny. It's like the still has become the most popular now that I think about it, because the CryptoPunks, they're all static images. And truth be told, it's the only reason why is because the algorithm is a lot easier to do with sectioned or like layered images and so forth, layered
Right.
stills. I mean, probably in the future they're going to get to the point where they can start layering video or something like that, and so forth. But for now, I mean, that the easiest way to do it is that way. So So in a sense, like still work has really just taken off as far as volume.